Hello and welcome back to Flyer Nation. My name is Matthew Carlson and we're here with the head coach of the men's volleyball team, Dan Friend. And later we'll be joined by middle hitter redshirt freshman Fredrick Krueger-Beer. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, you've been coaching here at Lewis since 2004, 21 years now. Have you noticed any real evolution, in the program, and what are those evolutions that you've seen?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, ultimately, there's some background on that. Ultimately, when I came in, Lewis had some NCAA sanctions, unfortunately, on a couple sports in the athletic department, so we were under probation a little bit. So when I took over the program, we kind of rebuilt from scratch. We didn't have any postseason the first couple of years. We got cut in scholarships. There was no international career recruiting. There was no official visits. And so it was tough on the returning guys when I walked in. And then we had to recruit basically 15 freshmen that first year. And those kind of guys rebuilt the program from scratch. And ultimately, by 2009, that group was seniors. And we ended up taking second in conference. Made it to the semifinals of the conference tournament. Had a really nice run. We were ranked, top 10 in the country. And really, it started to push the program where we wanted to go. And then ultimately, over the next 10 years, you saw us kind of break through in 2012, beating Ohio State to make the NCAA tournament, 14 making the tournament again, and then ultimately a 15 national runner-up, and then 19 and 21 we were able to win regular season and capture another MEAP championship. So we had a great 10-year run, and this group has been fantastic. The current group is working hard and putting themselves in a good position, and we're ranked 15th. We've got some key wins, and we're grinding away.
Yeah, it's awesome. And, you speak of, starting from scratch. When you were, down in Wichita, Kansas, you had to start from scratch there as well. So, that's something you're used to. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, I'm originally a Kansas kid. Volleyball doesn't exist in Kansas, and I kind of fell into it, in high school a little bit with some guys that taught me how to play, and then when I got to college, I was playing some club ball and got involved with our women's team as a student manager, and then a student kind of assistant, and then got my undergrad at Washburn University, which is similar to Lewis in size. It's a Division II school, and was turned into a kind of an assistant coaching role for them while I was working for a doctor doing some rehab stuff, and then eventually I was about 25, and I was like, hey, I think I want to coach, collegiately and as a head coach, and was able to get my master's at the University of Kansas, and was still doing some assistant coaching, and then got the job at Newman, starting the men's program from scratch, and took over the women. So I was doing both for those 3 years, and the women had a lot of great success. The top 20 at the NAI level, and our men's team, we brought a bunch of guys in, and ultimately by the third year played for a national championship at the NAI level. And then that opened the door, I think, for Lewis, and then got me here. Yeah,
that's awesome. And then how is that transition from going to a program in Kansas to coming to a program here then?
Well, I think for me the biggest transition was I've been a Kansas kid for 29 years, and so making a move outside of the norm was probably the biggest thing, not just the universities, because university, ultimately Newman was a private Catholic school, and coming to Lewis, private Catholic institution, so there were a lot of similarities from that standpoint. Washburn was a similar size in students, so I was familiar with that size of institution. The level was certainly different. I opened up at Lewis, one of my first things was we went to Hawaii, opened up what was called the Outrigger tournament, and my first match was against BYU, who were the defending national championships in the 05 season. So yeah, it was a little daunting task that first game. I remember playing that first match. We went back to the hotel, and I'm watching myself on TV for the first time, and so that was pretty cool. But it's been a great journey, and ultimately there were similarities, but there's been a lot of growth along the way.
Yeah, and with a lot of growth, of course, then you're going to have a lot of challenges as well. And having been here for some time now, you've had a lot of challenges with this program. What are some of those, namely?
Well, I think ultimately, Lewis is a great institution, but at the same time, we're recruiting against Division I schools. So you're going to kind of fall into that thing where, schools like Loyola or Ball State or UCLA or Penn State. And so in volleyball, it's kind of a niche. It's a niche sport, and so you got to find the kids that are the talent level that you need to compete, the ones that want to train and work hard, maybe a little chip on their shoulder, but also like the smaller size of Lewis. And so you have to find the strengths of Lewis that cater to the individuals that are going to help your program become successful. So I don't call them necessarily challenges. It's just learning how to recruit in that atmosphere and putting kids in a position that want to come here and be successful.
Yeah. So, and then, when you're here for, as many years as you are, and we have the things that we need to overcome, there's also a lot of benefits as well. And what would you say some benefits of staying at one program for?
Well, just the connections you build. Like, I know a lot of people in different offices all across campus, and so those helps when we're trying to work through things and trying to get things done or just have situations come up, and so those types of relationships are invaluable. There's a phenomenal coaching staff here, coaches that have been here a long time and uber successful. You think of Evan Feifels, our soccer coach, and George DiMatteo, who's here for a long time and just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. You got Dana, the track coach, James Carney, like Chris, the women's soccer coach, and Becky, the softball coach. My wife is the women's volleyball coach. So there's all these things where these coaches have been uber successful, and it's really nice to have those relationships and be able to lean on some things, because I think success breeds success. So you got all these coaches that are winning at a high level, it puts your program in a good position too.
Yeah, of course. Winning at a high level and being able to be surrounded by, the greatness that you mentioned here at the university is, always something to look out for. And it's caused a lot of memorable moments here at the university and for the fans, and I'm sure for yourself and the players. And, what are some of those memorable moments that you've had, if you're even able to choose a few?
Yeah, there's a few for sure. But at home specifically, yep. I mean, in 19 and 21, we hosted the MIVA final and beat Loyola in that final, and they were sweeps. So if you were in that gym, the gym was sold out and packed. And have you been to a game yet? Been to a sold? Okay, so Long Beach this year was packed and sold out. So you get to a game like that, and you can't hear yourself talk 5 feet away from you. And to be both those matches, and we ultimately were winning those matches to put ourselves in a position to be in the NCAA tournament. It was fantastic. And honestly, I think in 19, I didn't even have to coach. I kind of sat down and just enjoyed and watched because the guys played phenomenal. So those are some pretty good memories from those in this gym and in this arena.
Yeah, and so with all the character building and all the memories that you've had and everything, what are some things that you hope these players take away, maybe once they move on from their life here at Lewis?
Well, I think there's some life lessons. I think ultimately, you go through college, and it's what I think is one of your biggest growth experiences between 18 and 22. And the friends you meet, you're away from home, the college experience. And so I think my pathway is to guide them to become better young men. And they're going to have some challenges they face, and either I've gone through them or I've been through situations that I can help guide them. And I hope they look back at one, I made great friends that are maybe in my wedding or guys that I'm still talking to this day. I had a great experience where I'm going to look back and played some high-level volleyball and traveled the country. We've gone to Europe a couple times over the past 10 years. We travel east and west. We see some of the best gyms in the country. And so having those types of experience and remembering those along with their teammates. And then as well, it's just they get done and hey, I learned a lot. I put myself in a position to be successful in my next stage. I say a lot of times I think my relationship almost becomes closer to the players than the players do to me.
Yeah.
But I think some of those things we talked about right there are valuable.
Yeah, and I know, with connections with the players, something I've seen you guys grow a lot on is, your social media platform. You have they have the interviews with yourself and other players on the team. How have, outreach to the fans and things like that kind of affected how you guys perform here on the court?
Well, I think Nico Pauly, who's our junior libero, he's fantastic. He took over our social media when he got here. I think we went doubled in terms of how many followers we have on Instagram. Yeah. I think we're 9,500, 9,600, which is fantastic. He does such a phenomenal job. We've got a crew now with the Peakles and Quinn Zilch to kind of help him out this year. We've had other guys that have rotated through. Jared Phelan was before Nico, and he was fantastic. But I think social media content drives everything, and you guys know that. And it's we want to get our story out there and tell our story. And the coaches, catching up with Coach Friend's been kind of cool. We started that 3 years ago, and it's a short, quick question thing. It's been really good that Nico kind of runs and goes with, and just finding ways to connect with not only recruiting, selling our program, and getting our name out there. I just think is super important, and it's been fantastic being a part of that.
Yeah, and catching up with you on the Instagram as well has been something that I've enjoyed watching personally, and I'm sure many others as well. But we'll be back shortly after this break. Hear more with Dan Friend, and then later on with redshirt freshman middle hitter Fredrick. Krueger-Beer here on Flyer Nation. We'll be right back.
For over 50 years, WLRA has been on air showcasing countless students. As the first all-digital college radio station, Lewis University students are given access to industry-leading equipment that commercial stations utilize, equipment that creates, and equipment that brings radio to life.
I like WLRA because it gives me the opportunity to get experience with news broadcasting and working with radio.
Stop by De La Salle 210 or at WLRA Radio to get started on your radio career.
The Ray Strong Foundation was created about 4 years ago. It came after, as a couple, we had our first child. She was born at 24 weeks. She weighed 1 pound, 12 ounces. Then she proceeded to spend another 4 months in the NICU. That was the time that she should have been growing in the womb. During the 4 months, we visited her daily, and we got to sit down with the doctors and the nurses, and the amount of medical knowledge and what they can do to make sure that your child survives is amazing. And just the experience, it was nothing we could have ever been prepared for. So emotionally, we became very tied to the micro-preemie world. And that was when we decided to create a foundation with the goal of trying to give thanks back to the NICUs, the nurses, and then also provide any sort of emotional or financial help to other families that might experience what we went through.
We've had the opportunity to host over 40 events, celebrating micropreemies, fundraising, and bringing awareness to micropreemies and their families. When you get a chance, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, or our website at raystrong.org. Donate, and thanks again for all the support.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to Flyer Nation. My name is Matthew Carlson, and we're joined here by head coach of the men's volleyball team, Dan Friend. Glad to have you here.
Great to be here, Dan.
As always, and we talked a little bit about this before, but in terms of building team chemistry, that's vital for the team's success, and the enjoyment of everyone watching, and yourself as well. How do you foster those strong relationships on and then also off the court?
Well, I think ultimately, people talk about culture, and the guys are so important with that. And just over the years, the older guys have passed on to the younger guys, and we probably couldn't stay here long enough to go through all the little things that have created the culture piece, whether it be the cheers on the bench or expectations from an older guy to a younger guy on how you carry yourself, your interactions with teachers, all the things that kind of come into that. But we do off-campus activities where we go paintballing, we go to Warren Dunes State Park. We've got these things that are kind of inbred in the program that just build that team camaraderie. We have the whole team over for our beginning dinner, both actually the men's and the women's volleyball team that kind of come and they meet each other. We do some socials with the parents that I think becomes really important. And so there's lots of layers, but I think understanding how important your team chemistry and your team bond and getting them all in the same page and supporting each other. One of the small things we do is all of our incoming freshmen have big brothers. So they get contacted by them during the summer, and these are the things to look out for, teachers to take, things to kind of that coach means when he says this. And so I think different layers like that are super important. We've got study halls where they're monitored by an upperclassman, and like the guys do team dinners once a month where like the junior class feeds a good team or the sophomore class feeds a team. And so lots of little things that I think are important in the overall culture piece. And we talk about even like when we're out and about, like we get off the bus, we say thank you, we say yes sir, yes ma'am, like just how we present ourselves out in public and how we carry ourselves, how we dress, what is our attire, all that thing kind of are all pieces of it.
Yeah, and then, so there's a lot to look forward to when being on the team, and maybe you're a high schooler or you're in club volleyball and you're looking to go to a collegiate level team, and maybe they're looking to come here to Lewis, and there's a lot to look forward to. So, for those high school players, looking to play collegiately, and then here at Lewis, what are some things that, some advice you could give them in terms of off the court progress and on the court progress to maybe get a better look?
Well, I think, ultimately you have the piece where we're always evaluating skill talent, but one of the things that I pay attention to is how do you interact with teammates, families, refs when the ball is not around you? How do you carry yourself, all that stuff. So that becomes super valuable. What type of person are you? And then how do you do when the ball is not around you when you play? Like how do you support teammates? And then how do you do in failure? How do you react to it? What's your emotional, what's your body reaction? So there's a bunch of things that I think that are overall character and personalities that are things that we try to pick up to say, hey, are they a good fit for our program? Because I think we're in a space now and have been for a little while where talent's important, but personality and how they connect and how they fit into our program becomes just as valuable, if not more valuable. And that's a tough thing to evaluate sometimes, so we're always trying to find different ways to do that.
Yeah, so community is a really important aspect of this team then.
For sure.
Yeah, and community is a really important aspect of this university. So just as a whole, when the fans are showing up and staff is supporting, maybe you're walking through campus or the guys are walking through campus, how does the motivation from the faculty and the students affect the students, and what can new recruits look forward to by coming here in that aspect?
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but small campus atmosphere really gives an opportunity for you to connect with your teachers and your professors. You're not just a number. I went to K-State my very first year and transferred out. K-State, my classes were 400. You're number 175. That doesn't happen here. Like you're in a classroom, you get to know the teacher, they know your name, you can ask for help, and that's a huge selling point. And our students also need to understand that from the flip side. Like if you got your hood up and your headphones in and you're in class, that becomes disrespectful to the teacher. And so there's this balance of understanding, and then you represent Lewis men's volleyball. So if you're that student that walks in and you're in the back of the class and your hood's up and your headphones are up, it's like, that's not a great representation of us. So we talk about those things, like when you're out and about in the community, like respect your teachers, you want to be respected, and so it's a symbiotic relationship when it comes to that. So I think things like that become really important. And then also, how do you interact outside of just men's volleyball and athletics? We got a bunch of guys that are involved in different things. I think of the Peakle twins, they do a bunch of different things, Habitat for Humanity. So like, how do you put yourself in different spots in the community to be a part of that? And so, and like support, and not just athletics, but different clubs and student services and all the different things that go on campus, because I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, these are all very important parts of being a part of the Lewis community. Indeed. Thank you so much, Dan Friend, for joining us. We'll be right back with redshirt freshman middle hitter Fredrick Krueger-Beer. Stay tuned.
For over 50 years, WLRA has been on air showcasing countless students. As the first all-digital college radio station, Lewis University students are given access to industry-leading equipment. Equipment that commercial stations utilize, equipment that creates, and equipment that brings radio to life.
I like WLRA because it gives me the opportunity to get experience with news broadcasting and working with radio.
Stop by De La Salle 210 or at WLRA Radio to get started on your radio career.
The Ray Strong Foundation was created about 4 years ago. It came after, as a couple, we had our first child. She was born at 24 weeks. She weighed 1 pound, 12 ounces. Then she proceeded to spend another 4 months in the NICU. That was the time that she should have been growing in the womb. During the 4 months, we visited her daily, and we got to sit down with the doctors and the nurses, and the amount of medical knowledge and what they can do to make sure that your child survives is amazing. And just the experience, it was nothing we could have ever been prepared for. So emotionally, we became very tied to the micro-preemie world. And that was when we decided to create a foundation with the goal of trying to give thanks back to the NICUs, the nurses, and then also provide any sort of emotional or financial help to other families that might experience what we went through.
We've had the opportunity to host over 40 events, celebrating micro-preemies, fundraising, and bringing awareness to micro-preemies and their families. When you get a chance, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, or our website at raystrong.org. Donate, and thanks again for all the support.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Flyer Nation. My name is Matthew Carlson. We're here joined by redshirt freshman middle hitter Freddie Krueger-Beer. So when did you start playing volleyball?
I started playing volleyball in 8th grade. I quit basketball because I wasn't very good at it, and I picked up just like the local rec volleyball. And then, I took it into high school and found out I was pretty good at it. It took me here.
Yeah, and then did you ever go into club volleyball at all while in high school or before?
Yeah, I started club my freshman year with Milwaukee Volleyball Club.
Yeah, and then, how did you end up finding your way to Lewis here? What made you decide to commit?
The coaches reached out to me first my junior year at a high school tournament, and we just talked for about maybe a year. And I mean, they just were super nice, super kind to me. One of the first schools to reach out. They invited me on a visit, and I just really enjoyed it and really liked it, so I thought I'd come here.
Yeah, so what about the team stood out to you?
Definitely like the family aspect of it, I'd say. Like everybody here is super close. I'm close with all the guys, and I could tell that from just being around them.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and then so what is your, biggest influence in volleyball then? Obviously, you said you started with basketball, you decided to switch to volleyball, so, maybe we can start there, how did you end up on volleyball, and then what have your biggest influences been throughout?
I'd say I ended up with volleyball. I really just needed something to do after basketball. I mean, I grew up being active and not playing anymore. I needed to find something. And like my biggest influence, probably like my mom. She always pushed me to be athletic and to participate in sports. So without her, I definitely wouldn't be here.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, you come here and obviously, you're always trying to set new goals for yourself. It's the nature of the sport. What goals do you have for yourself right now, and then what goals do you have for the future here at your 4 years at Lewis?
Right now, I definitely want to win the MIVA championship.
Yeah.
I think if you ask any guy on the team, they'd give the exact same answer. I mean, we're pushing towards the end of the season here, conference tournament's right around the corner. So I think right now my biggest goal is to win a MIVA championship. For the next 3 years that I have here, just continue to get better and maybe win another 3 MIVA championships. I don't know. I really just care about winning. That's all I really want to do.
Yeah, the championships on the line there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so when you're in the off season, so obviously you have your routines here, with the guys on the court during practice, but when you're in the off season, say like, in the summer, or, later in the spring, what kind of routines do you go through to keep your skills sharp?
A lot of beach volleyball, a lot of grass volleyball. I mean, as soon as the season's done, I mean, we're out over there in the beach, playing with the guys right away. Lifting a lot of weights, really. I try to just get in the gym and get stronger, faster, jump higher, and then a lot of outdoors, keep me sharp.
Yeah, and so do you ever go out to Lake Michigan and with the beach volleyball nets there at all? Or?
Yeah, I definitely try to get out to Bradford Beach down in Milwaukee and play some there.
There you go. Well, that would be all for this episode of Flyer Nation. Thank you to Coach Dan Friend and redshirt freshman middle hitter Fredrick Krueger-Beer for joining us, and we'll be back with our next episode of Flyer Nation.